All right, recording has started, and this is the August 25th, 2022 Crossplane community meeting. I know there's a number of folks, mostly the Istanbul people, that are doing a get together and a team event thing, and so they won't join here. So we're missing a little bit of attendees from that today. But thanks everybody else for attending, and we'll go through the agenda document. Everything's recorded, so folks can catch up later on. So I wanted to start checking in on milestones first, as usual. I saw a number of commits or things merged into or backported into the release branches like 1.9, 1.8, 1.7, the three current supported releases. So I wanted to see if there was also a plan or an intent with those merges to then do a patch release to get those out. Some of them were docs changes, but this one, the most recent one here, was for supporting package pulls from Harbor specifically. That looked like that was, that's a code change. So I wanted to check to see if we were planning on doing a patch release. Dan was driving that one, and I don't think Dan is here today. So I'm not sure if we have an answer to that, but I'm kind of assuming that there's a patch release coming since we backported a code change into a release branch. It wouldn't make sense just to backport it and not release it. So I'm assuming a patch is coming. But let me know if anybody has any other news on that. All right. So then there's the 1.10 release, which we are also making progress on. You can follow along with all of the progress and things that are in scope here on the Crossplane releases board. We're maybe halfway-ish or so into the release cycle. We still have a month and a half or almost 2 months until the release. So there's still plenty of time here. Probably one of the biggest things to note and to call out in terms of progress is that the long-standing PR for the design of supporting patching from common data sources by Max. I've been driving that, and Nick has been providing a lot of feedback. That PR, the design has been approved now. So I'm expecting then, because that's a highly requested feature. So I'm expecting then for progress on the implementation to be made, because Max had a kind of parallel implementation PR alongside the design. So now that the design is approved and finalized, I expect Max to probably make fairly quick progress on the implementation of it. So I'm expecting this to be in the 1.10 release at this point, since we have almost 2 months left and the design is approved. And I know Max is fairly motivated on this feature as well. So I would be surprised if it's not included in 1.10. Obviously, that's not a guarantee, but there's clear progress here and Max is motivated. So that one I think is really exciting. And there's a lot of demand for it. So I know a lot of folks are waiting on that one. It will be in its first release. It will be behind an alpha feature flag. So you'll have to take a specific step to enable that feature in the main Crossplane deployments. And then there will certainly be, I think, a good opportunity for feedback on that feature. The design for it underwent a lot of discussion. But once it gets out there and people start using it, then we'll have some feedback in the real world and see if there's some use cases we missed and such. So feedback from using that alpha feature will be very useful in the 1.10 timeframe. There is, let's see, what else to bring up here. I think everything that's in progress here is on the board and updated. So there's a fair amount of things in flight right now. Let's see what to call out. I think that custom compositions or composition functions, that's still in progress, but it's progress on that is going to kind of ramp back up again. Taking a little bit of a break for it while we're having a number of competing priorities right now. I'm not going to make any promises on that one being included in 1.10, but progress will be ramping back up on it, and you'll see more. You'll see more traction on that one again. And obviously lots of good opportunities for feedback in that as well. Anybody want to call out other issues that are top of mind or being worked on, or updates to make to the board here? I think another one that's definitely top of mind for me, and I kind of reconfirmed a little bit that this is a priority as well, is, we've had this composition revision functionality where you can consciously roll out updates to your compositions across your environments. It's still in an alpha state right now, and there are some issues with it. So in order to mature that to beta level and ready for folks to start using in production, there's a number of things that will be followed up on. And I think that this is a priority to be able to get this in the hands of people and be able to, kind of be able to have more control about how they update their platforms over time. I think that's really important. And so that is a priority for the project as well, and we'll be getting some attention too. So I haven't got that one at the top of the backlog. And then observe only resources is something that's important as well, or at least extension points for it. So that's near the top of the backlog in my mind as well too. But if
what is?
Oh, go ahead.
What is observe only crossplane resources? I don't think I've
Yeah,
heard of that.
The best way to describe that, if you're already familiar with Terraform, I think they're like data sources, I think is what they're called in Terraform. I'm not a very experienced Terraform person at all, but basically it's the concept of being able to bring in an external resource like a database or a cluster or whatever it may be into purview of Crossplane, where it's reconciling in the sense that it's doing observe on it, it's getting data from it, it's bringing it into the environment, but it's not, it doesn't have write access to it. It won't make any changes to that resource. So you're basically bringing it into the control plane, so then other resources can refer to it or get information from it or get the status from it or whatever it may be. So it's basically being able to have for Crossplane to know about the existence and get information about a resource, but not be able to make changes to it. I think that one's hotly requested as well. That's a really popular feature.
Oh, yeah, that'd be really useful.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, 58. Wow. That was a big one there. Nice. Okay, so so that's we're making lots of progress on 1.10. Things are getting moved across the board there, and folks are more than welcome to weigh in on priority and things that they'd like to see as we go throughout the in between community meetings also. Let's see. So I didn't spend much time on this section yet for recent provider releases and such. I know that there was a patch release in provider AWS. So Christopher, if you want to talk to that one real quick, and then we'll see if there's other recent provider releases also.
Yeah, we implemented with the last release flow logs in VPCs, and there was an issue with self-introduced override fields. So we skipped the fields in the generation, and afterwards, they was not part of pre-create. So there was an issue if you're using these fields from the custom struct. And yeah, I'm currently on the next release. So I guess in 1 hour, something like this, we see the next release in provider AWS. Normally we want to cut this yesterday, but there was one open PR we merged, I guess, 10 minutes ago for enhancing EKS things that you can reconfigure security KMS stuff for the EKS cluster, that you can, after the creation, you can add the KMS keys to the cluster. And we merged this, and now we cut the release, I guess the new branch I created, and now the CI jobs are running. So I guess I need 1 hour roundabout to make all the checks and publish the release.
Nice. So that is literally in progress right now.
Yes. There will be a big change for the glue space. So everything related to glue, there was a big PR drive by Deutsche Bahn. And there's a few breaking changes inside for fields, but we will make this visible in the release notes.
Will there be some sort of migration steps there, Christopher, about how to absorb the changes?
Have migration. Yeah, we will publish the migration steps if you're currently using the things.
Awesome, Christopher. Thank you for paying attention to that, man. Other recent releases from providers. I didn't really took a look at it. So anybody know off the top of their head of other provider releases? Okay, cool. And there's some other things in the community we'll talk about later on in the agenda. All right, great. So let's keep on moving and making progress here. So let's move on to the community topics section. So as always, we have our content section first. So a couple of blog posts and presentations, etc. As usual. I feel like this came out on the day of the community meeting last week or last time, but I don't think it was like before the community meeting happened. So here is, I think, a super useful and fairly technically in-depth article that Nick wrote about all the work we've been doing within the Kubernetes control plane and within upstream Kubernetes as well, to be able to handle situations where Crossplane providers are huge and they've got hundreds and hundreds of the thousands of custom resource definitions. And the Kubernetes API control plane has not handled that well. So we've made a number of improvements there. So all the nitty-gritty technical details are available in this blog. And I think it's a really good read if you're interested in that topic. And Nick is a fantastic writer as well. So this is really cool to dive into this if you're interested in that.
Yeah, I can second to that. That blog was awesome. I wish Nick was here to kind of personally tell him that it was nice, but yeah, it was a good read. If you haven't read it, definitely read it.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that Nick writes is very good. So yeah, thanks for validating that. It's not just me that thinks that. So we got a couple other, this one's a first look from someone from the community that's coming from Terraform and checking out Crossplane and giving their opinions on it. Some good insight there, which is really, really good. This is worth noting now, I think, too, because there's been a long-standing issue where the object model of Crossplane did not play well with Argo CD and owner references and relationships between entities of composed resources and the composite resources and claims and all that sort of stuff. So the Argo CD has enabled some new functionality in terms of tracking annotations to be able to understand relationships between objects. And so Nate has updated his blog post here about how to enable that and how to get Crossplane and Argo to play well together. And then Nate is also driving, in addition to the docs, the official Crossplane documentation to be able to explain this as well beyond just a blog post. So that's definitely something to take note of, and has been a bit of a thorn in our side for a number of months now. So this is really cool to see some progress on that. And Argo CD is super popular. We use it internally at Upbound also, so it's good to see this happen. And then Suse did a post as well about combining some of their product line with Crossplane. And so that's definitely an interesting look at as well. So that link is available for y'all. Cool. So any other blog posts or presentations or videos or anything, folks are more than welcome to add this to that list so we get some visibility there as well. And the Crossplane Twitter account is always happy to retweet and get some visibility for stuff that folks are doing within the community and are associated with Crossplane. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll always make some noise about stuff you guys are doing too. All right. So Linux Foundation Mentorship Summer Term projects. We're in the last week of this now of summer term. Final evaluations are on August 31st, I think. So these two mentees, Rahika and Parul, I think Parul's on the call today too, so we'll let her speak to her project when we get there. But our two mentees have been working really hard on these two projects, and we've been giving updates on them in each community meeting while we've been going through the summer term there. And so Rahika is finishing up a unit test for being able to evaluate breaking changes in CRDs. The functionality we focused on was detecting fields from being removed from one version to another. So she's wrapping up a unit test there to take that functionality, and then we'll be able to expand it in the future to have more rules and more knowledge of breaking changes, and then also kind of get that integrated into PRs across providers also. And then Parul is, I believe, on the call. So Parul, are you available to go ahead and give us an update of the progress that you've made and what you want to finish up in your last week on your project?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So am I audible? Just checking.
Yeah, you could. You sound great.
Yeah, so as of now, we have made some of progress in adding logging statements to the already existing tests for provider upgrades, and focusing on the main area of the project, that is to add tests for pulling private packages from registries that are supported by Crossplane. We have the tests written and the PR is up, and we are working on having it tested against an automated workflow. There are some failures in that which we are currently working to get rid of, but that aside, the test and the logging statements are already in place. The workflow is in place, but just that we need to check what went wrong with the workflow stuff.
Yeah, fantastic. And so I think this is, and what we would like to do here in the last week is get this unit test working here. So we have a full end-to-end flow running on a regular basis that's testing the latest Crossplane builds and making sure that it can still download packages from private registries. We have the Google Artifact Registry is the first implementation here. And so being able to, we've had a number of regressions over time with not being able to connect and access private repositories. So that's a really important one for us to prioritize and make sure we're catching any regressions very early on before the broader community finds them. So yeah, Parul's done a great job on this. I'm really excited to get this to a good finishing point here. So we'll finish up getting that workflow debugged and this test running successfully. And yeah, it's been a great time working with both Parul and Rahika this summer. And so excited to get that finished up.
Which repository was this in?
Oh, this is in
Crossplane
Crossplane/test. Yeah, we have a
test.
number of workflows there that run on a periodic basis. You can see them all in the GitHub workflows folder there, where testing that providers like AWS, GCP, and Azure all can upgrade from the last version to the latest in their main branches. And then we got this new private package pull one, and then we also have Crossplane itself being able to upgrade to the latest version. So yeah, so it's good to, and Parul's done things beyond just that private package test there. She's been helping us debug and get some reliability and logging and observability into the other integration tests as well in this repo.
Awesome.
Cool. So KubeCon North America over in Detroit, nothing really new to mention. I did now find at least that on the schedule site that you can link to search results. So now I have updated that link of everything that mentions Crossplane is directly in this search here, so you can find it more easily. You will also note that everything that mentions Crossplane is checked marked and on my schedule. So we'll see if I can hit all of these. There might be some conflicts, but I ambitiously would like to see every single one of these. And looking forward to seeing folks in Detroit as well, if you're able to make it. All right. So Nick has spent some time, and Nick's not here, right? Yeah. So Nick has spent some time recently on some repository project maintenance hygiene sort of related stuff. So a number of things that we've done. First one, I think probably the most important one, is that we have added a new role to the governance of the project. So in addition to steering committee and maintainers, we've also added a new reviewers role. So this reviewers role essentially is a way to expand the number of folks that we have reviewing PRs, so we can improve the efficiency of pull requests, getting feedback, and getting to a good state. So reviewers essentially we have some automation to assign a reviewer to each pull request that is opened in Core Crossplane, at least for now. And so those reviewers will provide feedback, take a look, and kind of help lighten the load from the maintainers right now. So there are, I think, some more opportunities for folks to become reviewers within from the broader community. And I like this because it's not only is it helping improve our PR review efficiency, but it is also a path to becoming a maintainer on Core Crossplane as well, where you can start giving some good feedback, having good insights into the architecture, helping and enabling new contributors, and then become eventually a maintainer yourself also. So I think this is a cool opportunity. And if folks are interested in becoming a reviewer in Core Crossplane, then feel free to reach out to me and to Nick, and we'll talk to you about that. The other hygiene related thing to note is that we did add a bot for looking at stale issues. So that's something that we've seen a little bit, and I've on other projects I'm involved in, we've eventually done this there too, where if there's old issues that are out of scope, they haven't been touched in at least 90 days, or no comments, no interactions with them at all, then the bot will mark them as stale and make a comment on it. And then at that point, you have folks have an opportunity to comment and ask the Stillbot to not close it out. I think there's a week in between when it gets marked as stale and when it gets closed. So if you have issues that are still important to you and you get a notification that it's been marked as stale, go ahead and comment on the issue and, give us some reasoning for, if you still want that issue to exist, if you still think it's a priority, any of that sort of stuff. So it's just kind of a bit of a forcing function to continue to get eyes on issues as they're maybe languishing or not getting any attention from the community.
Is this also something we can introduce in provider AWS, for example, because we have also very old issues running there, and I don't know if they're really up to date or not.
Yeah, I think so, Christopher, because I think there may be some like enabling at the organizational level to give it permissions first, but then it's a simple configuration file that gets checked into the repository, so you can see the config we have in core Crossplane. And then just basically copy that. And so we can add that into any of the providers repos that we want.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's great. If you, as a maintainer on provider AWS, if you think that's good for that repository there and you think that would help the community for that particular repo, then yeah, absolutely go ahead and add that. And if you need any help with getting like organizational setup of like, if the Stillbot isn't yet set up there, then I can help out with that too, man.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I will drive this.
Great, dude. Awesome. Yeah, so so you see things, a few things are ramping back up again, and like a big part of that is organizing our project and making sure that we're focusing on the most important things. So we'll continue to see that of how can we make the project more efficient, how can we help contributors be enabled to be building and pushing the project forward. So we'll keep doing that as we're going through the milestones the rest of the year. Christopher, this is absolutely you, my friend. I think you demoed this maybe a couple.
I demoed this two community meetings ago, and I open sourced the first version. So it's the very basic implementation of it. So for example, if you click on examples, if you want, you can have a look and I don't know, pick one, RDS. Yeah. And sorry, it's the example. Can you go back to the root? It's only the final example. Can you go to the root?
Go back to the root.
Yeah, sorry. Go to compositions.
Got it.
Correct. And now pick one of them.
I'll do RDS still.
Yeah, and you can click the generate YAML. So a short recap. So in general, you can generate now compositions out of CRDs from a provider. So in line 5, for example, you can see this is a CRD from a provider AWS in this example. We have a few options to configure, for example, connection secret keys we want to have in the claims, for example, which are the default compositions, a few labeling things, and which are our group names, versions, and purposes, for example, and then everything is generated. So if you go back, you can see the composition is completely generated and the definition is completely auto-generated out of a CRD from a provider. And there are a few other options for patching, etc., etc. So overriding the external name or not, for example, patching things, patching labels, annotations, whatever. There's a lot of things in this repository. And yeah, I will shortly update this repository because we have also a version that, for example, if you have a RDS database and we found out a KMS key, for example, we can embed in the composition automatically also the KMS key resource, and then we can bundle them together with match controller ref in the selectors, and then it's rolled out completely in the composition. Everything is based here in JSON.NET and a little bit Go tooling around. And yeah.
That's fantastic, Christopher.
We're using this in production.
Yeah, there we go. Battle tested. Do you, is there, what was it in the generate file? Yes. Is the schema for this documented so far? So you have an idea of all the fields you can set and their values and stuff?
At the moment, only in the main Go file. It's
got it. In the code.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, no worries. So thanks for making this and contributing it to the ecosystem.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh my gosh.
Scroll a little bit. Here in the generator struct, you can see what you
all this stuff here. Okay, cool.
Yes, there's a lot of things. So for example, one more example, can you go back and open the KMS key, for example? Then you can
see the compositions here or in, okay.
You go to KMS key.
KMS key. Okay.
Yeah, and open
Generate.
generate YAML. And
Okay.
the interesting part now is we want to enforce, for example, here override fields, and we want to have the enable key rotation enable true. And if you set also ignore true, it's our customers or our tenants are unable to change this field because for governance reasons we want to have this field enforced. So you can enforcing fields without tenants can change it. This is something our governance and security teams wanted to have, that they have control over fields. And this is something,
so does that make it immutable, Christopher, or is that
Yes.
like it doesn't expose it in the claim?
It's not exposed that the tenants can change it, but we have also a version that it's really immutable with Kyverno policies in the background.
Okay.
So normally our generation is a little bit more. We have also Kyverno policies normally, but we need to clean up a little bit things if we really can open source it, because there's a lot of company.
Yeah, for sure.
So it took a little bit time to open source the things and clean up that everyone can use it.
Absolutely.
And we're really happy to see merge requests or pull requests here. If other folks want to use this, because we can learn from each other what are the interesting parts in the composition generation.
Yeah, fantastic. And understanding like what are the use cases, or what are what's missing functionality that people want to see as well. So yeah, I can imagine like community rallying around this and adding some new stuff to it for sure.
Yeah, I guess I had a call with Manabu from AWS about this.
Yeah. Thank you, Christopher. We will be definitely using this. So thank you.
Yep.
Very cool.
I've noticed
Go ahead, Yuri.
Yeah, sorry, man. I just noticed cattle tests. How they work? Are you generating cattle for the compositions, or it is testing the tool itself?
At the moment, we're not really generating them, but what we're trying to achieve in the tests is we applying the compositions and our examples, and then we are trying to check the managed resources generated in the cluster. If they so if we have our composition claims, and then we have create them in the cluster, and we check then afterwards in an assert file if the managed resources on the provider level are expecting the patches we have in the compositions.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yes.
So at the moment, you need to populate this test suite manually. Is that correct?
Yes. We have not if Jared can go one back, there is other folder for the assert files. For example, can you go to resource? Yes. And there's the assert YAML. So currently this is handwritten. Yes. We want to try also generating the things, because if we create a claim, we want to check if all our patches are on the resources from the providers are as expected. So you can see all the label things and so on.
Yeah, that might be super powerful. Generate composition with the regression test suite right away. Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So thanks again, Christopher, for driving this, and then like doing that development within your employer, but then donating it to the community and the ecosystem, so we have it to share and rally around. That's super cool and really appreciate it for sure. Awesome, man. I'm going to skip over fuzz testing because we kind of talked about it a little bit last week, but I think Muafik is the owner and driver of that. So I'll sync up with Muafik offline about that one. And then that appears to be the full agenda here. Any other agenda items that folks want to bring up, discuss, get some opinions on? All right.
Yeah,
Christopher, do you have something?
Yeah, I have something, because we're currently working a little bit on our cattle tests for all of our things. And we had the discussion today in the company if it's possible to run, for example, a provider in a test mode, for example, that we can I don't know, in the test mode that we can create a VPC, for example, and the provider for us generates a VPC ID that we can use the VPC ID then to reference this to other resources, because at the moment our tests are lack of features, I would say, because if you need a real ID from a resource, yeah, you can't test this without creating the resource in the cloud provider, for example. Yeah. So if there is someone in the community currently working on something like this would be really helpful for us, because all resources we have today with reference each other, I don't know, a NAT gateway with a subnet group, we have not real unit tests at the moment, because we can't do anything without the live environment then.
Wait, so Christopher, so you're saying like a test sort of mode for the provider where it would like create a VPC object in the Kubernetes API, but not reconcile that then with like the live environment?
Yes, but provide, for example, the external name like in VPC ID in the test mode that we can really drive our tests, because this is very difficult at the moment without to create real resources in an AWS
yeah.
and to protect them.
Yeah, good question.
Did you
Yep.
try local stack? Maybe I heard somebody, probably Matthias.
Yes, we tried,
yeah.
but it's really difficult because it depends a little bit on how our endpoint configurations are working on the provider level. There are a lot of issues at the moment if you want to use a local stack. And fair enough, the local stack thing, there's also not all resource covered we're currently using for EKS setup. So I don't know if someone has an idea. Otherwise, we will have another discussion in the company and open, for example, a PR for provider AWS to make a test flag to render the objects in the cluster without really creating them in an endpoint, for example, or in AWS, that we can drive our tests a little bit better.
Some maybe slightly crazy idea. So in some of my previous work, I used the tooling, which class of tooling, which has a confusing name like service virtualization or something, which has nothing to do with virtualization. It's just intercepting the API calls, right? And then able to reproduce it back. So I use something like Honeymoon or something like a Golang tooling, which was able to intercept the API calls and basically dump all of them into JSON and then repeat them like in a consistent manner. So I was able basically like, you know, to in CI cut the external integration point off and mock it out with this thing. Yep. So potentially you could like recreate it with a AWS, record it with like this proxy and dump it and basically isolate the test suite.
Yeah,
that might be interesting project to work.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, if nobody in the community has something like this, we will definitely invest a few hours of our time to see if it is possible, because it could help our testing with all the resources we have. Because a little bit background in our setup, we have more than 300 resources rendered for our EKS setup. And it's very difficult today to find out if an update of a provider will break something without the tests. We have a lot of resources with tests, but there are also a bunch of with the referencing stuff we could not see today if we not creating them. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely a cool idea, and I see the value of it as well, especially as the scope of, you know, the affected resources within your environment grows too. So yeah, like I haven't heard anybody working on that, but I like Yuri's idea of, you know, kind of like the recorded playback, you know, like API request thing. I've seen that in other type of tests as well for other projects. So that's a good idea. And yeah, definitely, you know, whatever you do find, Christopher, yeah, please do share with the community, because that could be valuable too.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Well, sweet. So yeah, I think that's everything. So I think we can go ahead and adjourn. But as always, great to see everybody. And then we'll keep syncing async on Slack together too. And see you all in 2 weeks to the next meeting too.
Right.
Take care, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye bye.